I have to tell you, what a pleasure for me to be here with you, talking to this cadre who has been so important to the development of the proposals as well as the advocacy for the project itself and now the continuing support of this project. Ralph, when you referred to the groundbreaking last August and the governor, for those who, I recognize a number of the faces that are here as having been there as well. And you know, we had this all staged that the governor was just supposed to go out with this piece of equipment and sort of knock a hole on the top of this building and hopefully have it, fall over and the governor would climb down. But it turned out the governor had so much fun as he's knocking things down back and forth, and you couldn't see me on the far side of that piece of equipment, and I'm tapping him on his leg to stop, and he is totally ignoring me. And the only salvation from something greater happening was that they didn't show the governor how to move the vehicle anywhere. So he was limited to the arm's length of this piece of equipment. But I think he sort of recognized a potential second career after his second term. And that's, he had a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun for all of us. And obviously that was also the event where I enjoyed watching the governor do that, but more than anything, I enjoyed watching the U.S. Secretary of Transportation sign the full funding grant agreement, providing us the $900 million that was necessary for us to move forward on this project. But that was a big day for MDOT, that was a big day for the governor, and I think that's a big day as well for Montgomery and Prince George's counties, because this is, this will make a difference. It truly will make a difference for the lives. I was fascinated to hear about the students who attend here, and is this kind of going in?
Yeah. And so I'm a huge believer, and I can absolutely see how Purple Line can benefit not only getting students here to attend classes, but after they've attended to be able to get to the jobs that are going to be available to them. And we are already seeing the impact of the Purple Line to development along this corridor. We have seen Carr Properties and the development of the old Apex facility, in which we are going to see nearly $1 billion of investment in that immediate area. We are seeing the same thing with another development, the Gilbane facility. And this is just the start of what is going to occur along this line with significant investment that not only are going to provide places for people to live, but it's going to provide easy access for places for people to work. And that's exactly what we all, I think, and you all had been hoping for as you have promoted this project over the last 15 years or longer. And so it's great to even though I'm a latecomer to this process, I'm very much enjoying the opportunity to be a part of what is going on now. As I've already mentioned, we have secured the full funding grant agreement, which will provide us a revenue stream of $900 million, eventually subject to annual appropriation by Congress. We are in a position right now at $325 million has already been appropriated. We are spending money quickly, and we are taking access to that. I believe we are just about have used the first $200 million, and now we will be going into the next years of the appropriation. We are going to have to continue conversations with our members of the congressional delegation to ensure that we continue to receive somewhere between the $100 and hopefully $125 million a year to fully fund the $900 million. I can tell you right now, PTLP, our concessionaire, has roughly 375 engineers already working on this project. I think what we're going to find is, and I need to throw in, there's construction workers in there as well, but over this next year, we're going to see their workforce grow to 1,500 jobs. You know what, and as one of the members of the labor unions here just had the opportunity to say hello to. You know, these are good jobs, right? These are well-paying jobs. These are the kinds of jobs that people can support a family on. And they're going to last roughly 6 years. So this is great, I believe, for Maryland and the entire region of the District of Columbia. Right now, about 75% of the design of the Purple Line is complete, leaving in roughly another 25%. We are quickly ramping up for things like utility relocations, the tree removals, the silt fencing and such. Those things are going on right now, and you're going to see a lot more over the course of 2018. It's going to, I think, thrill all of you that have been supporters of this to see how much work is going to be going on and how quickly it's going to go. We continue to estimate that ridership, when it opens up, will be roughly 59,000 riders a day. We see that number growing to 74,000 riders a day is what we're projecting for 2040, which is the horizon at which we have to project. If the service is as good as we believe it's going to be, I'm very confident in those numbers. WMATA, there's a lot of conversation about WMATA and how this all can work together. We project that at least 7,000 riders a day will be added to the WMATA ridership as a result of the Purple Line and what it's doing. And that number will continue to grow as we go forward. So let's talk about actually delivering the project. If you've driven along the route, you've seen there's work going on at various levels. There's a lot of people who are spending a lot of time on this, a lot more than 40 hours a week. One of those right here is Chuck Lattuca. I've told him I don't want him working more than 80 hours a week. Beyond that, he needs to take a break. But we have been working closely together. We had a delay because of the lawsuit and Judge Leon's removal of the rod. I think everybody's aware now that the Court of Appeals overruled that, had returned the rod to us, and we've continued to work. But it is nearly a 1-year delay in the overall process because of that lawsuit. Now, that does not translate into necessarily a 1-year extension of our revenue service date. However, we know there's going to be some delay. We know that we will have to accommodate some delay. We do not yet know at what point, how much of a delay we will see in the actual start of revenue service, which currently is projected at the spring of 2022. We are working with PTLP to mitigate those delays, and we do anticipate that there will be some movement of the revenue service date, but I do not anticipate that to be 1 year. I believe it to be less than that. I'm very hopeful that it will continue to remain in 2022 somewhere within that. We have formed all of our community advisory teams. There's 8 of those, one for every 2 miles of that project. All of them have met at least once. We will start the next round of those this month, and they are vital to how we make sure we stay grounded with the communities and that we get feedback from them as to how well we're doing. Are there areas that we could improve upon? What's our grade as far as being a good neighbor to those communities, and are we delivering those things that they had expected and that we had promised? Our DBE goals are in very good position so far. PTLP has exceeded its goals of 26% for design and 22% for construction. So we're seeing a real commitment to DBE and MBE by the concessionaire, and this is a positive sign for us that they're taking these issues very seriously, because we take these very seriously in Maryland. There are adjacent rail activities that are ongoing that will be positive, I believe, for us. We had projected these things would happen, and they are happening. I've mentioned already Carr Properties and Gilbane, and Gilbane's development, and we have had outreach by other organizations. Conversations are still private, but we are looking forward to being able to see even more development along this corridor. For those who, for yourselves or for whomever you may know that are interested in working for PTLP, either as a contractor vendor or some other arrangement, there is an online site to go to. And that site is purplelinetransitpartners.com. I'm sure that surprises you that it would have a name like Purple Line Partners Transit.com. But you can go there. There's information there as to how to engage with PTLP and to start that conversation as how you can go to work with them. Right now, they are continuing to look for engineering, design, and construction inspection services. They are looking for materials suppliers, including concrete, asphalt, rebar, precast, arches, and pipe. Those are the biggies. Construction services such as bridge and structures, paving, duct banks, utility relocations, and concrete finish work are all necessary skills and contractors needed. And then stormwater management, ponds, and wetland restoration. So there's a lot of work that still is needed. There's a lot of investment opportunities here for local businesses to engage with this project. We are concerned, as is PTLP, and that is with our impacts on businesses within the project area. And so there is a lot of effort being paid to relocating parking so it's still adjacent to or near the businesses that might be losing parking during the project. Providing additional directional signs so that people know that this is how you get to a particular business. Facilitating deliveries during construction can be very important to retail operations and others, and also giving a lot of notice to temporary closures of sidewalks and alternatives to those sidewalks, and giving business owners advance warnings of street closures, which in some cases could have significant impact on those businesses. Just as an update, we have acquired 88% of the right-of-way necessary for the project, and I believe we have acquired all of those that are critical, are on the critical. We have a position or a piece or two that we still are going to have to acquire, but we are working diligently on those. I've already mentioned the fact that the U.S. Court of Appeals had ruled in the federal government's favor and MDOT's favor in their dealing with the initial lawsuit that had delayed the record of decision for the project. That one has been resolved. There is a second lawsuit that is ongoing now. There is the likelihood of some sort of a hearing on this, we think, in the next couple of months. We are very confident that we have delivered an environmental document that will withstand extreme scrutiny. And that's been proven already through the first lawsuit, and we know that the second lawsuit deals with even more minor issues that I believe were dealt with fairly and exhaustively by MDOT in putting together the environmental document that has allowed this project to move forward as it has. So that's the update. We have, I am going to have to leave soon, but I'd like to leave time for a couple of questions. And I see Katie sitting there. I see other hands here. So let's start to my right up above, and then I'll come down.
Just a quick point and a branding concept. I've written a lot about how the Purple Line ought to be used as a way to drive complementary transit network improvements across the network if we really had a transit system in the area, which is arguable. But another way to think about the Purple Line is, it's obviously it's not at this level, but for the U.S., it's about as close as we're getting to Crossrail. And it really will add a significant amount of redundancy within the fixed rail transit network in the area. Obviously something to be mentioned in the legal proceedings. But have you thought, it doesn't seem so, has Maryland really thought, and I mean, look, Montgomery County is a finalist for the Amazon stuff. Have you really thought about the Purple Line is more than just a transit project and a real transformational transit project beyond how Maryland is traditionally thought about transit?
So you've raised a lot of issues within that question. And let me give it first a very broad stroke for an answer, and then I'll try to dive in. So we at MDOT have really begun focusing on the transportation systems, plural, of Maryland. And we are approaching all of this is that we have to manage a system of systems. We recognize that transit is one of those systems, as well as the other modes and the other operations that we have as a state. Once you fill in this picture of systems, then we need to be have included in this Montgomery County's support of their transit system, their buses, Prince George's County, and such. So the answer, just to be blunt, is yes, we are looking at how do we incorporate systems, a system of systems, which includes, I would add, other modes, including highways. It's my opinion that congestion has frankly just gotten so bad that just transit is not going to solve it, just highways is not going to solve it. We are going to have to use all of the above. We are going to have to invest in transportation systems if we are going to maintain a high quality of life for people who want to live and work in Maryland. And I believe that if we do not only do we see a deteriorating quality of life, but we are going to see a diminishing economy because businesses do not want to locate in the most congested area of the United States. So we've got to come up with as many solutions as we can. I believe transit has got to be a part of that solution, but it is not the sole solution. But once we make an investment, as we are, of $5.6 billion in this project, we would be foolish to not leverage that into more. And I would hope that the announcements that we have had about major investments in transportation in general within this area would be encouraging to Mr. Bezos. Sir.
Mr. Secretary, two thank yous and a question of the challenge. First of all, thank you for being here, and thank you also for listening to the case about the Purple Line that resulted in your support for it. The challenge, which is kind of in that spirit of no good deed goes unpunished, is the topic that you raised about the construction impacts on the communities and in particular the businesses along the right-of-way. I'm very glad that you raised that issue to signal your focus on it. I think it's still a point of great concern, including to businesses just nearby to here, but all along. And I wonder whether there are additional steps that you and your team could put in place, some metrics that would be very publicly available about the frequency of concerns that could then document, one hopes, a low level or a dropping level, something like that, that would make it concrete that the PLTP and MDOT are really focused on this issue. Thank you for raising it.
Absolutely. And I need to reiterate, is that my name's Pete. Please, just call me Pete. So the answer is yes, we are concerned about these impacts, and I did not raise that point for a frivolous point. Chuck and I and his entire team have had these conversations about how can we support businesses that are impacted. Unfortunately, there is no way to avoid impact on some businesses, right? We know that's going to happen. Chuck has been in constant contact, right, with PLTV. I suspect, considering you're co-located, probably daily exchanges. But this is one of those things we care about. We do not want to unnecessarily impact businesses or residents. And if we absolutely have to do it, what can we do to mitigate that and to get the work done quickly within that area so that we do not extend the pain any longer than that. Kate.
You mentioned that you don't know yet when the delay is going to be in the revenue service date. When are you going to know what that date will be or what that delay will be? And when are you going to know how much additionally is going to cost the state?
So I don't know exactly when, but I can tell you this is an ongoing conversation between PTOP and MDOT. We are going through a couple of processes right now to define what sort of delays they are and who is responsible for them in whatever way. Some are delays that have no cost whatsoever to us. They might only be time. There are others that might include costs. We are wanting to be fair with PTOP, but we also do not want to spend any dollars that we do not absolutely have to. We're trying to be responsible with the tax dollars we have. We have to get through those. I don't know if it quite raises to the level of negotiations or not, but we have to get through the exploration and have our positions well defined so that we can make that estimate. Once we get that done, we'll be able to determine the date, and we're not trying to hide it. We know there's going to be some delay, and we want it to be as small a delay as it has to be.
Is that in the time frame? Is that a matter of weeks you'll know, or months, or any sense of that?
It's probably a couple of months, right? And quite honestly, it probably doesn't matter at this point whether we're adding a few months, into 2022. We have plenty of time for that. Again, there's nothing to hide here. It's just we have to be fair to PTOP and we have to be fair to the taxpayer. So we're going to do this right. George, can I take this gentleman first? He's had his hand up a long time. Yes, sir.
Joe Ryerson from CAT, and I want to know if they're going to have any other groundbreakings, and that I can attend, but I can't do it through the week because I'll be working. So maybe they can do like Metro, have it on the weekends.
Okay. Well, I mean, we've had the grand groundbreaking, but I'm sure there will be other events that we will have to celebrate, additional work. So I'm hearing you say, though, you would like whatever that event is going to be, have it on a weekend so you can attend.
Right.
Okay? All right. George?
Yeah, thank you, Pete. Always great to have you in Montgomery County. You've been a real good actor. You're a real straight shooter. We appreciate you a lot. I wanted to follow up on John's point, and I know you're aware of this, but I wanted to make the point publicly. So there's an economic adjustment program in the state's Department of Housing that Senator Smith is asking the governor to fund that would provide transitional adjustment help for businesses that are disrupted. Because as you know, the way that the reimbursement for businesses has been structured thus far, you basically have to be dead to get paid. You're really only getting paid if you go out of business as a result of Purple Line. And that isn't what any of us want. It's not what Governor Hogan wants. We want businesses that have hung in there for a long time to survive and thrive. But the way the payment is structured right now, it doesn't work that way. And at the county council today, we had a discussion of the transition assistance that the county is providing for businesses in Wheaton that are impacted by the new park and planning headquarters in Wheaton. And it's not perfect, but businesses are getting compensated for documented losses suffered as a result of the construction disruption. And it's a great model for what the state could do, not only for businesses that are defunct as a result of Purple Line, but those that have hung on despite disruption. And if the governor would just add a little bit of money in his budget, it would be a very popular gesture, I think, in both Montgomery and Prince George's counties for small businesses to survive and thrive, which is part of Governor Hogan's message and his mission.
That is very much his desire is for businesses to grow. I'm sure with your long time in government, you're familiar with the there is no such thing as a one-time decision, and whatever you do once becomes the precedent for everything else. So we're facing two issues, is that as MDOT and our roughly 850 projects that we have all over the state, anything we do anywhere within that becomes a precedent for everywhere else. So we just frankly have to be careful, because we don't have the resources to be able to deal with some of these issues that historically we've not. And that brings us to the Purple Line, which we have undertaken with a very thin line of resources to deal with the unexpected. So I understand the request. I understand also what the implications could be for us across the state. That really concerns me, and I have great empathy and sympathy for business people to first be business people, and then secondly, when impacts like this occur to them that are beyond their control. But I don't want to make a promise to you that we can do something that I really doubt that we as MDOT can handle. But I appreciate you bringing that up. And Senator Smith has sent letters. I've been copied on them as well, and he has been a very forceful advocate for his constituents.
The Montgomery County Council, and I think also Prince George's County Council, are very supportive of his initiative.
I saw hands waving somewhere. Yes, sir.
One concern we have with the Purple Line is you've eliminated the second elevator at a lot of stations. The ability to maintain elevators has been a major problem within the transit industry as a whole, not just in Maryland. This is a serious concern since the Purple Line sits out in the open. And we're wondering if there's maybe a way to get around this, maybe put a walkway in, a long ramp like they have at the Coldstream Lane Metro Station in Baltimore, or light rail station in Baltimore, which is the ramp from hell, but I mean, it is a solution that you can at least get there if the elevator's broke.
So,
and I'm wondering if you could consider something like this.
something, from the standpoint, have we considered it? I think will be a question I'll have to pass along to Chuck when the conversation starts here. But we do have a performance measure for PLTP and the concessionaire on the availability of the elevators to our patrons. And I would be very disappointed if we are not able to reach this very high percentage of availability. I know it just takes, when you're...
But if it's your elevator that's out.
Yeah, when you're confined to a wheelchair, I realize one day without it absolutely limits your ability to go wherever it was you intended. Which tells us these are important. We know that elevators are very expensive. And you didn't ask for second elevators, you were asking for walkways. I'm going to pass that on so Chuck can answer that when it moves to the panel. So I'm kicking the rock down the road here for him to answer. Okay. Yes, sir.
Given that Montgomery County is a finalist for the Amazon award, there must be a property already as proposed. But that's it's really purple line. Are you any insight into that?
I cannot disclose the property that the county is proposing. I can tell you from MDOT's standpoint, we have approached all of these within Maryland that we have supported with information, is that I don't know where the resources will come from, but we have made the commitment that whatever it takes to satisfy Amazon in order to locate in Maryland, we will do it. Right? There's not many times in my life where I've ever been involved with having to commit resources in which I've said, whatever it takes, that's what we're going to do. But a project that can deliver 50,000 jobs, $100,000 a year, sort of, those are once in multiple lifetime opportunities, and we've got to do whatever it takes to bring them to Maryland, which from their standpoint would be a brilliant decision for them to choose Maryland.
One thing that I appreciate you mentioning was the Purple Line and public transit in addition to highway support. Are there any plans in place for those state highways that are arteries to Purple Line locations? Improving the functionality of the highways, increasing sidewalks, all of those things, basically creating better arteries or better pathways to the Purple Line. So in Tacoma Park, New Hampshire Avenue is one location that would be a priority for us.
So the answer is yes. The governor has announced an additional $50 million that we are spending on implementing artificial intelligence in our signal systems so that our signals can deal with traffic not only even as, 10 years ago the technology was having a smart signal at one intersection. Well, what we are pursuing and what is available to us now is that we can link whole corridors of signals to keep traffic moving in the most efficient way. We believe this investment of this $50 million is going to have a significant payoff for the traveling public as well as the efficiency of our system. We are continuing to look at what technology we need to have within our intersections across the state that can make them compatible to what we see as connected vehicles of the future. So we are trying to get in front of the curve instead of where transportation is normally forced to be behind the curve. So we are investing in corridors, we are investing in our major interstates, we're investing in major transit projects. So we want to address the secret that we have, and that secret is that we have a congestion. We don't tell people that. We hope they don't notice. We're going to do what we can. So yes, we are looking at arterials as well. And I do apologize, but I do have to go. But I so much appreciate, first of all, you all coming out on Thursday night, and the fact that you have been so supportive for so long. And please invite me back when you have another forum, and I should be able to give you even more positive updates as to how the project's going.
We have a terrific panel to participation so far. The first member, of course, is Chuck Lattuca, who is Director of Advanced Projects for MTA. Is that the title? But you're the project
It's a
manager.
terrible title. It's Director of Transit Development and Delivery.
There we are.
But I only have one project, it's the
There's
Purple
only-
Line.
Perfect.
If you help, you have a second one.
That would be nice.
And at the other end of the table, the Purple Line Transit Partner has gifted us with a public relations person who has brought to life a public affairs effort on the part of MTA, for which we are very grateful. Ashlie Bagwell will speak to you about her interests as well. The unique and some say most difficult aspect of the Purple Line, of course, is that it connects two jurisdictions who in very different ways confront a project of this magnitude. And so we're lucky to have the two people from each of the two counties who have undertaken to coordinate the project in their jurisdictions by working together with Chuck and others. The first is Tim Cupples from Montgomery County, and the second is Victor Weissberg, a member of the Purple Line Now board, and a member of our panel, Vic, from Prince George's County. And to moderate this discussion, we have Andrew Metcalf. Andrew's terrific. You all know that if you want to know anything about transit before anybody else knows it, you go to Bethesda Beat. And Andrew provides it. He's been a follower of this project, and we've counted on him to tell us first what's going on. Andrew has agreed to moderate a discussion among this panel. Please join me in welcoming Andrew and all of our panelists.
Thank you, Ralph. You're too kind about Bethesda Beat. But let's get right into the panel. It was great to have Secretary Rahn here. He really just answered all your guys' questions, took time and talked frankly about the project that, I haven't written about the Purple Line in maybe a week, and so, it's already, I'm already primed now for another article. So let's jump in, and I noticed from the audience questions that there were significant questions about Amazon, so I thought we would start with Tim Cupples. You're the Montgomery coordinator for the Purple Line, and one of the questions that I wanted to ask, since this news broke today, Amazon has chosen Montgomery County as one of its 20 locations where it's looking for its headquarters 2 project. And Bethesda Beat has learned that it's the White Flint area that it has been pitched. That hasn't been confirmed yet by the county, but White Flint, the I-270 corridor. How do you think the Purple Line might be able to connect with that area in Montgomery County, if Amazon were to select that spot?
My leaders.
Well, this is change over, Jack. Secretary Rahn said anything it takes, right? No, I be honest with you, I really don't know how to answer that question. I have not been part of the team that has been involved in the pursuit of submitting the proposal. So I must confess, I don't have a good answer for that. But I think, anytime that you look at trying to bring an operation of that nature, transportation is a huge component of it, and they want to be able to get access to, for their workers and other people want access to airports, and mass transit was certainly a big component of their RFP, and Montgomery County kind of checks all those boxes, and I think we'll look to see what other investments can be made to even improve our qualifications.
All right, thanks. I didn't need to put you on the spot. Can you update us on how the construction process is going? When do you expect construction, staging, tree cutting, things that I understand are happening right now to be completed? And after that, what phase of construction will the Purple Line enter? And what can people expect to see?
So, everything is going to happen up and down the entire line. So we're not starting at one end and working toward the other. We're working across the entire 16-mile corridor. We hope to accomplish most of the tree cutting before April 1st, especially the forested areas, because then we're going into a migratory bird nesting issue with federal regulations. So we hope to get those trees cleared. There'll be some areas that might be cleared later, perhaps along a CSX track where we still don't have the access to. We're still working with them on those issues. But right now, we're, all the things that we need to do in the beginning of the project, which started a little bit later than we anticipated because of the lawsuit, are happening. So, the first thing you do is you gotta move utilities, clear the trees, move utilities, and then you start to do things with all the property that you bought over the years. We start to take down the buildings that we need to take down, and there's a lot of demolition going on. So that has occurred and will continue to occur for a little bit longer, but the utilities will be going on for a couple of years. A lot that we're putting in, moving and replacing, putting brand new 10 miles of sewer and water pipe, which is probably going to be a benefit to the USSC because they're going to get some new pipe out of the deal. We're working with all the other power companies and the internet and communication companies like Verizon and Verizon Business to relocate everything that has to be done there. And some things we can relocate to overhead wires on the communications, low voltage wires, perhaps underground locations. And so we're working with those companies. So it's going to keep us busy for the first year of work. You're not going to see a track laid soon. But until this other work is accomplished first, any site work ready, the maintenance facility where all the trains are going to be repaired and stored is in Glenridge in Prince George's County. We, with the cooperation of Prince George's County and their Parks and Rec department, have relocated a maintenance area that they had and relocated the workers and their activities to a different lease space that we're paying for. And we're right now we're doing a lot of work grading that property so we can get a nice flat surface for railroad operations. So that's the main activity going on right now.
And just a follow-up question on that, when that tree hits, will work shift to different portions of the project?
There's going to be all different working, so some crews will be tree cutting crews, some people will do utility relocation crews. One of the things that we have to do when we work with utilities and relocate their equipment is they just don't let anybody touch it. So we use, they have to be somebody that's certified by WSC or Verizon or Petco or Washington Gas. So we use their list of contractors, and so that'll be going on. And then at some point we'll move into putting in track stations. At the end, the systems come in, which is the hardest part. The communications, the signals, the catenary systems, all the electric that has to go on to power the trains, and that's really the longest part of the project, but it comes last.
Okay. And Secretary Rahn had mentioned that the bill might push the project opening date back a little bit. Has there been any construction issues that have caused delays? Anything that you guys haven't expected when you're on the ground and starting this process?
We have run into things like that might be called unforeseen things, like when you do a boring, perhaps you get something, there's a rock or rock that you anticipate or something like that, but nothing that has had any type of dramatic impact on the type of project. Any these unforeseen types of site conditions, are going to be accounted for, and we'll work with DLTP to, build the time and get it done.
Okay, this next question is for Tim Cupples and Vic Weissberg. Given that there's 3 agencies, well, if you count the counties, several agencies working on this project, I was wondering what kind of coordination is there between Montgomery and Prince George's County and Purple Line Transit Partners and the state? You guys talk on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and how does that information flow to your citizens who may be affected by what's going on with the construction and stuff like that?
Thanks. As I think, would be apparent, it's a constant process. So we're communicating with PLTP, PLTC, MPA on, pretty much a daily basis. Montgomery County and Prince George's County have, talk very frequently. So it's a constant process, and also working collaboratively with, the MTA and the concessionaire in terms of getting information out to the community, and anyone who inquires.
Yeah, I think Montgomery County is in a interesting position because in addition to the Purple Line, they're, let me add up the numbers correctly, roughly 100 $170 plus or minus $1 million worth of county-funded projects are being built along with the Purple Line. The Capitol Crescent Trail, the Silver Spring Green Trail, and a new entrance to the Bethesda Metro Station. So our involvement's a little bit different from Prince George's County in that, those are our projects, and MTA is designing and building them for us, and we're looking very closely at those plans. And so, one of the jobs that exists because of this project, my job was created specifically to be that interface between all the county agencies, not only for the county-funded projects, but also for the Purple Line, because this construction is going to be, it comes through our community, it impacts our community, our residents, and so we need to understand, how they're proposing to go about building this work. And as far as the communication piece goes, I think we certainly look to the state to and I was very pleased to hear Pete mention this in his opening remarks. Is they recognize that we're entering a phase that is really going to be impactful on the growing pains that gets us to this great project at the end of the day. And so this is a time where we're looking to the state to really step up and work with the community and listen. I think that's a key component of anyone in government. You spend some time listening and understanding what the community's concerns are, and then come up with solutions that you're not able to. It's major construction project. You're not able to address every single concern, but make good for that and do what you can.
Ashlie, had mentioned that about 375 engineers are currently working on the project. Is that engineers and construction workers? Can you give us an idea of who the people are on the ground right now working on the project?
We have a lot of different kinds of people on the ground working on the project. As he said, engineers, we've got the construction folks who work on site. There are outreach team members. So the full gamut of people on the ground, and as he said, will continue to grow. For those businesses who are interested in doing business with the Purple Line, I encourage them to visit the website that Secretary Rahn mentioned. I know that they have a staff of people who are ready to talk to those people on a daily basis. You can either reach them via the website, or I do believe they have an office on site at Riverdale where you can walk in and talk to a team about doing business with the Purple Line.
Yeah, when this project, there was statistics thrown around, and one of those was about 5,000 construction-related jobs expected to be created to build the Purple Line. Do you know if that number will be reached during the construction process? Maybe this would be better for you as well, Chuck. But how the staffing will grow on this project in the next year or two, and when it'll reach real full staffing.
So there's jobs that are not directly PLTP, PLTC jobs, the contractors' jobs. Certainly there's jobs like that are created due to, for instance, them buying material. So there's jobs outside that are being created in order to help meet their demands for material, asphalt, pipe, aggregate, whatever it might be. There's, everything down to the person who drives the coffee truck up to the job site. And, when you work with the federal government and you go through their processes, they have metrics, for every $1 million you spend on construction, it creates X amount of jobs. So that's kind of where that number comes from.
And if I can just add, Andrew, there are also, in addition to the jobs related to building the Purple Line, once the Purple Line is built, it will need to be operated.
Yeah.
And so I think those jobs are ongoing as well.
They have jobs for people that aren't even here physically, but they work remotely. Some of their engineering team is spread out. So there's even some of my team that help review the designs that are remotely located. I have a team of consultants myself that are about 60, 65 consultants doing engineering reviews, plan reviews, compliance audits, things like that. So the state has a major investment in personnel just to oversee the project.
Chuck, do you know if, as construction has continued, have there been any changes to project's plans that warrant noting?
I think in Prince George's County, we worked with the county to change one of the station designs from a wall-type elevated station to a bridge structure. We were very successful in negotiating with Prince George's County on that, on changing that design component, which the community felt was going to be a barrier to their growth and to their ability to move back and forth in the community. So that's one change I can point to. There's other changes that, are smaller changes that, we have done, like for instance on Wayne Avenue. There was some, the residents raised the issue about the width of the roadway being too wide because of the station platform being there, and the added lanes to accommodate left turns and the train and the platform. And we worked very successfully, cooperatively with Tim Cupples and Montgomery County DOT to, it was really a hard exercise because that issue had gone on for a couple of years, to really come up with a new concept to lessen the width of that road by about, I don't know, 11 feet, something like that, and make sure that the sidewalks were a little bit better situated and reduce the some of the retaining walls so they weren't so tall when people had to walk close to them. So that's like two examples where sometimes issues get raised. People say that, this is, we can't live with that, and we work it out with the county and our partners.
So is this something that's going to be ongoing during the project, where issues get raised that Purple Line Transit Partners will have the ability to change design, change plan?
And I think that, pizza, we're at 75% design, some of these changes were accomplished, I don't know, in the last, year, so a little bit earlier in the design process. Certainly, if there's something that, as we get closer to construction, we see it doesn't work, we'll listen to people and see what we can do to mitigate the impact of the project there. But I think, big changes like the one I just spoke of, I think, I think most of those that we can do have been accomplished.
And Tim, I wanted to ask you, after the Georgetown branch closed, many people in Montgomery County lamented it, but one of the projects the county is paying for is a new trail along the Purple Line route. Can you describe what that new trail will look like and why you think it may be an improvement over the previous Georgetown branch trail? And also just give us an update on when construction will begin on that. When will people perhaps even be able to ride on it? Will it open with the light rail line? Will portions of it open beforehand? Do you know anything? Any updates you could provide about the new trail?
Well, I think, let's take the first part of the question first. It's going to be a tremendous improvement. And I say that as a person who designs portions of the original trail, and the bridge I built over Rock Creek is being torn down. So kind of bittersweet to see it go. We won some awards for that. The new bridge is going to be beautiful, and it's going to be. That'd be great. So it's going to be have a parabolic curve to it, and it's going to be wider. It's going to be about 20 feet wide and have a nice one of the nice things about the existing bridge was it had a nice area to stand and view Rock Creek, and PLTP's done a great job coming up with ways of accommodating that same concept in the new bridge. It is a very popular trail. It serves many purposes. It serves walkers, it serves cyclists, both folks who are looking for recreation and people who are commuting to work. One of the things that will help improve the functionality of that trail for these many purposes is the width. And this is going to be 16 foot wide, 12 foot wide with 2 foot shoulders on each side for much of its length. There are some pinch points and stuff like that to get around. But at the end of the day, then we're going to have connectivity. It's going to connect into the existing Capitol Crescent Trail, which is in Bethesda, and can get you all the way down into DC. Now we're going to complete that connection all the way to Silver Spring and tie into the Metropolitan Branch Trail. So that's a really, great improvement as far as connecting the bicycle network and the trail network within Montgomery County, and then all the other trails that intersect it, the Rock Creek Trail and other trails along the way. And that's another, sometimes we forget to mention it. The Purple Line project improves those trail connections as well. For questions about, the schedule and when it might open, I kind of have to refer to our project manager over here at the state, because it is being built integrally with the Purple Line, and that's a good thing, because when the Purple Line is done, the cycles improvements will be there and be operating.
Chuck, do you know anything about the construction schedule on the trail part?
Well, it's hand in glove with the rail, because they're right next to each other, right?
Yeah.
They share either walls or sometimes drainage systems and things like that. So when we get close to commissioning the rail line, then I think at some point we'll look at opening the trail. So it's not going to be at the very end of the project, but it's going to be closer to the end of the project than it is today. As far as the project opening, I think he kind of addressed some of that. He said, look, we have some, due to the court case, we have some delay. We're still shooting to open in 2022.
Victor, I wanted to ask you about the University of Maryland at College Park. This line is going to run through that college's campus. How does Prince George's County think it will change day-to-day life on the campus? And do you think it will change the university's future?
I think it's going to be an enormous benefit to both the university and surrounding communities. The project overall is just going to, provide such a tremendous benefit in connecting communities that, really, need additional access and mobility. I think it is going to spur economic development in some of the surrounding areas. The Discovery District, which is actually part of the university campus. Secretary Pete, as he likes to be called, noted the Gilbane development in College Park. So there are already projects that are happening that are immediately adjacent to Purple Line stations. And it's going to absolutely improve access for students and faculty and any ancillary business that's being done with in conjunction with the campus.
Thank you. Ashlie, I wanted to ask you, as construction ramps up, it's widely expected to bring traffic, noise, other issues along the route. Is Maryland and Purple Line Transit Partners planning any kind of communications push to explain what people can expect?
Thank you for asking that question. We encourage everyone, certainly those of you here, and I encourage you to share this information with your friends and neighbors, to visit our website, purplelinend.com. If you go to the construction tab on that website, there is an opportunity to sign up for alerts and notifications, either along the entire alignment or along areas that you live or work in. Any kind of notifications, alerts, information on road closures, utility disruptions will be pushed out in that manner. So we are really encouraging everyone to sign up for those alerts. If you go to the website and for whatever reason don't want to sign up for the alerts, all of those are posted on the website so you can read them there. I also, since we're talking about the website and the secretary mentioned the community advisory teams, there's also on the website a CAT team tab. And you were talking about scheduling earlier. There's a lot of information that if you're looking for scheduling information, there are a lot of questions and answers that get posted there, but anything that happens at these CAT team meetings are pretty immediately posted on the website. And again, those packets include 6-month look-aheads for schedules along the entire alignment. So if you've got some time and you're looking for information, I encourage you to check that tab out as well. And then we have a 24-hour hotline. I'm happy to give it to you afterwards, or that's also on the website. But for people who have questions, who have issues, we encourage you to call that hotline. You will certainly get a call back within 24 hours. If you don't get your answer then, rest assured that the outreach team who staffs that hotline work with the other members of the team so that you can get that information in as quick a turnaround as possible.
And one follow-up question I wanted to ask, and I know this project has been sold to the public for 20 years, but is there going to be any effort to resell this project to the public during the construction process? While there might be issues going on, problems, people getting frustrated with construction, will there be new renderings, new videos, perhaps showing what the final thing will look like? Do you know anything about that?
You know, I think some of that is tough as changes or tweaks may be made. I know that we are absolutely making every opportunity we can to get out in the community. We go to Purple Line Now board meetings and participate in their activities. Community meetings, for instance, both in Montgomery County and in Prince George's County. You know, any kind of activities, 5Ks, and the areas along the alignment. I think certainly Purple Line Transit Partners is trying to be a community, or a good community partner. So those opportunities we welcome. And again, are as you said, as construction continues, as there are issues, I think it's really important that we get people information as quickly as we can, either through that hotline or through the website. And so we're making every opportunity we can to do that.
Now, one of the things that came up, I think it was during the capital program tour that the secretary goes on across the state when he releases the new capital plan, is that I think one of the delegates in Montgomery County raised the issue of can we have more, instead of these smaller CAT meetings, can we have one or two large meetings at least once a year or maybe twice a year in the community so that everybody can attend, maybe like an open house style thing. We weren't anticipating that at this time, but we are now working with PLTP to talk about organizing some of these, very large open house type of community meetings. That's something that we're probably going to add to the agenda here in the next 6 months.
And I know I don't have all the questions, so let's open it up to the audience. If you have any questions for this panel.
Maybe the guy from PG speak a little, because you asked all your questions except for...
Do you have any questions for him?
If you have anything to say.
I can just say, we are, very happy that this project is happening. We do see it as a tremendous opportunity to connect the region. As many, are aware, there's been an increasing westward shift within in terms of jobs and access within the region. We see this project as a tremendous bridge to better tie the region together and balance the region in terms of the and some of the inequities as far as the housing transportation balance. We continue to work. We have been working with PLTP, PLTC, and the MTA, but we are going to have to keep our eye on several aspects of the project as it moves along. We need to make sure that communities have adequate access in and out of their community along where the Purple Line is running. We need to make sure that there's proper attention to aesthetic detail, like landscaping. It's something that is a relatively low cost feature, but is high benefit. We need to make sure that corridors like University Boulevard, that pedestrian and bicycle safety increase as a result of the project, not decrease. I could go on, but those are some of the aspects that we're paying attention to.
Yes.
I got a comment. I'm a CAT meeting member, and the CAT meetings are open to the public. But when the CAT meeting have the meeting, they have the meeting. If they have the public have questions, they have to wait till the members get their questions, then they would open to the floor for the public. And I haven't seen any, meeting for the construction started yet, so they might be in the process.
Actually, when are those CAT meetings? And what will be, if you're not a CAT member, you know, how can the public participate in those meetings?
So earlier this week, on the 16th, there was one in Riverdale Park. Next week, January 24th, one has been scheduled in Long Branch. And then on the 31st, one has been scheduled in Bethesda Chevy Chase. All of this information, again, is available at purplelinemd.com under the CAT Team tab. I haven't checked as of today. I mentioned on January 16th there was one at Riverdale Park. But again, Chuck and his team with Joy Hamilton do a great job of posting what is presented at the CAT Team members, or at the CAT Team meetings shortly thereafter so that you can see. Like I said, those are 3 that have been scheduled. I think the remaining 5 CAT teams are awaiting being scheduled.
And I know in particular, you might be interested, I mean, so, you know, we're going to want to make sure that there are CAT meetings held in short order for communities like College Park and Langland Park Corridor.
What does CAT team mean?
Community advisory.
Yes.
Community advisory team.
And to follow up, just because you asked about public participation, there's a membership for each CAT team that is comprised of civic associations, neighborhood groups, chambers, etc. They are, again, public meetings, so folks can attend. As the gentleman stated, the good bulk of the meeting is for back and forth between CAT team members and the facilitators and team members from MTA and Purple Line Transit Partners in the counties. But there is an opportunity at the end of each meeting for public to ask questions.
Thank you.
Yes, okay. Secretary Pete, bounce the ball down to you.
Yes.
So I'm going to let you pick it up.
There you go.
And then I wanted to add on there one little thing that is a perennial problem for any major construction project that never gets down to the guys digging the holes. They'll dig a hole in the middle of a wheelchair ramp and never bother to pull out a piece of plywood and build a temporary ramp beside it. And there's a whole section of ADA for this. And can you see that this gets down to those guys?
Yes, well, you have our concessionaire here, our contractor representative here, and then we talked to them about that.
And the other part was, I was suggesting a ramp
Yes.
in addition to the elevator, not in place of the elevator, because a sidewalk of that length and scope is, we jokingly call the one at Cold Spring Lane Light Rail Station, if you've ever get a chance to go to Baltimore.
Yeah.
The ramp from hell, because I've actually had someone from the MTA in Baltimore ask me to call them if I ever get off there and have to go up that ramp. They want to watch.
Okay, I want to help you.
But in case of an emergency, it means nothing.
Yes.
And
Well,
that's what I was saying.
many of our platforms are, ramps, except the ones that are subsurface, perhaps. And, the elevators are there.
Well, this is backup to the elevator. This is the parachute.
Pardon?
This is the parachute to the elevator.
Yeah.
Don't take the elevator out.
So, the contract we have is a performance management type of contract with them. So the elevators do have to be fixed right away when they go down. As the Secretary said, the elevators are extremely expensive. And the reason why they're so expensive is because they're built to, they're overbuilt to reduce maintenance. I'm not exactly sure what the performance measure is for elevator repair. I can get that to you. And if there's, hopefully it's 8 hours or less. And what we can do is, if there's a group grant perhaps that wants to talk about handicap access to the stations, we would be happy to meet with you and talk about some of the designs that are coming across, and maybe get some input.
Yeah, I have a question about the Bethesda station.
Yeah.
They're newly done tearing down the building on top of it.
Yes.
Is the plan that the owner of the building is going to build their building, and then you're going to go in and put in the tracks and wires, or are you going to
Just
put
about.
the tracks and wires when it's,
So
in the middle of, when they've got a flat ground and then they'll build on top of it?
Well, what's going to happen is, originally with the Apex building as it was, is, if you walk on the CCT, you walked under the building, it was kind of a box, right? And the idea was to have the platform in that box and build a mezzanine between that area and the county-funded elevator project that's going to take you down to the Red Line. Now, we're still going to get a box, except they're going to dig down 45 feet after they get the building down, and they're going to build a parking garage underneath, and then they're going to build that up, and then when they get it built up to the surface again, they're going to put a box on top of that, which would be just about the same size as the box that the Apex building had for us. We'll put, when they're done with that box, they'll hand that over to us, and then we'll, the Purple Line Transit Partners will put the tracks and the platform and all the interior communications and power. So they have the agreement we're working on with Car Properties in order so that their construction, if it doesn't go very well, they're financially incentivized, or there's penalties in place if they deliver the box late. So we told them when we want the box delivered, and they're working very hard to meet that date. So far, their project has been going fairly well and on schedule.
It just seemed to me to be easier to put all the stuff in when it's open.
Right. Well, but they have to. We can't work on top of them, so they have to. Once they get that parking garage done and the parking structure, and then they can put that concrete big box on top of it, which actually is going to be a better box than the one we were going to get with the original Apex building. It's going to be a little bit straighter. Under the original plan, there was a little bit of a curve to the platform. That's eliminated now, and there's more. Of course, the county has worked very hard with the developer to ensure that there's better circulation, that there's an escalator, there's an elevator now in the design, and they've been incentivized by the county to provide those other amenities. Excuse me.
Yes.
What steps are you taking to make sure the materials you're using for this project do not suffer the same fate as those used in the Silver Spring Transit Center? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, that is the project that just keeps on giving Silver Spring Transit Center. But it is a lesson learned, right? I think a lot of people learned a lot of valuable lessons from the project that we certainly absorbed some lessons. As kind of being the funding stream for that MTA. But there is very close oversight. They have a materials testing lab. Their design has to be very scrutinized by my staff and have the design review to make sure there's enough rebar, and so the quality of concrete has to go through their lab. It has to be tested. We'll be on site watching them do the pours. And we're going to, hopefully do a lot better than what was done before. So, yeah, we're very cognizant of all the lessons that were provided from that project.
Okay, thank you.